All right, so tonight's presentation is called Your Healing Body. Okay, so I wanted to get into the specifics of this and how it impacts how we can really allow our bodies to heal, because naturally our bodies heal when we allow it to. But first, we have to talk about the disclaimer. So, this presentation is for educational and informational purposes only and solely as a self-help tool for your own use. I'm not providing medical, psychological, or nutritional therapy advice. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat any health problems or illnesses without consulting your own medical practitioner. Always seek advice of your own medical practitioner and/or mental health provider about your specific health situation. For my full disclosure, please go to coachmikethomas.com. So we got that out of the way. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about me just for a minute here, which really starts with my journey, which was in 2016. I'm really slow here. In 2016, if that works, I started having chest pain. And that chest pain I was having was really concerning, considering my mom's side of the family, was a lot of the uncles and stuff were either dying or having open heart surgery or myocardial infarctions in their 40s and 50s. So here I was, in my early 50s in 2016, having chest pain, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm next. And I was very concerned that I was going to die of a heart attack, which got me into this whole world of what I do now as a health coach. So long story short, I found out about whole food plant-based living. I ended up quitting my job, and I'm hoping this doesn't log you guys out. I apologize. I ended up quitting my job, and I ended up starting coaching in the process of helping and supporting other people, because as I converted to a whole food plant-based diet, I lost about 35 pounds. My cholesterol levels went extremely down, and my stress and my chest pain went away, which could be because I quit my job. I'll definitely admit to that. Professional background, I'm a registered pharmacist, board certified in lifestyle medicine, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and was trained as a health coach in the Mayo Clinic. And I specialize in helping people to lose weight and reverse other diseases by adding more plants into their diet, specifically whole food plant-based with low fat. Okay. I've got lots of success stories that I can share with you individually. Some of those will be in this actual presentation along the way with the healing body. And if you'd like to connect with me, anybody online, don't hesitate. You can reach out to me. There'll be a link in the description of this video as well for coaching or a free consult. So before I go to the next slide, can you guys see that slide and me on it or no?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, good. All right, so let's get to your healing body. So where and how does the body heal from injury, for example? Here's a good example of somebody that's cut their hand pretty badly. And sure enough, you can see several months later, the body has totally healed, right? So I want you to just think about that analogy as it relates to a broken bone. Similar situation, you've got a bone that's broken from injury, just like the injury from the guy who got his hand cut. And from this injury, the body will naturally heal on its own. Okay, so this body is pretty remarkable when we allow it to heal from injury. Injury, I'm talking about specifically as it relates to chronic diseases, is injury with food, right? So it's the food. As I mentioned before, Dr. Michael Greger is on this presentation. He states several times in many of his videos, the number one cause of premature death and disability is related to the food that we eat. So it is the food that's causing the injury. One way to promote healing is to increase blood flow. Okay, think about the body. There's 60,000 miles of veins, arteries, and capillaries in one person's body. So literally, if you just put these head to tail, it would go around the earth 2 times. So obviously, if you have the smallest piece of your skin on your tip of your finger and you nick it a little bit, you're going to bleed because there's capillaries there. So they've actually measured it, 60,000 miles. So what we can do to have the blood flow flowing with nutrient-filled, oxygenated blood to our tissues, organs, muscles, skin, brain, bones, etc., incredibly important, right? But think about what we do to restrict this blood flow with chronic diseases such as diabetes, obesity, and heart disease, right? Diabetes is just like charred glass, extra glucose in the blood that actually damages, unfortunately, the arteries, the circulation, and some organs, kidneys, peripheral neuropathy, which we're going to get to that towards the end of this presentation, but that's basically causes a tremendous amount of pain in the distal, the hands and the feet and parts of the body, and the vision because of restricted or poor blood flow. The same thing for heart disease. Restricted, damaged blood flow can cause a heart attack, and over the course of time can occlude your blood vessels and such. Poor vasculature, as many of us are aware, can also cause erectile dysfunction. So it's the food. So what is it about the food? And I'm sure most people on this call can say it's excess salt, excess fat, excess sugar, excess animal products, right? So if you see this nice picture of, albeit deliciously tasting food that's on the right there with lots of meat and snacks and cookies and cakes, etc., milkshakes, that has a lot of extra salt, fat, sugar, and animal products in it that is causing some problems in our bodies. And it's also missing a lot of fiber. And it's been stated that we need to get fiber in our bodies. Unfortunately, only 3% of Americans actually get the adequate amount of fiber on a consistent basis. So 97% of us are not getting enough fiber, and it's really 15 grams of fiber versus 30 grams. Most people get around 12 to 15 grams, and the required necessity is about 30 grams of fiber. And of course, much of this on the right is missing nutrition as well, as you're eating the snacks and the cakes and the yucky stuff. So think about this food as we consume on an ongoing basis. Most of us in America is constantly injuring our body and our body tissues, right? So is the food healing or hurting me? I want you just to think about that as you see this woman holding a donut in one hand and an apple in the other hand. And obviously we know if she consumes the apple, it's going to be a lot more healthy for her. But know that these are choices that we make every single day, those micro choices, and there is tremendous power in our choices. I like to bring the analogy, if you had a hammer and you would hit your foot on a consistent basis over the course of time, you would injure it's a pretty yucky looking foot there. This is actually a computerized generated. So no, I did not have an actor hit his foot and take a picture of his foot, but this is a computerized artificial generated image of somebody that's been hitting their foot and damaging their foot, right? So obviously once a day, twice a day, and sometimes with meals 3 times a day, we're hitting our veins, our arteries, our organs with some pretty unhealthy foods on a constant basis, right? So bringing in the hammer and thinking about that analogy. So what to do differently? So put down the hammer and pick up this fork, right? Which has got your whole foods on it. And this one has broccoli, but it could have cannellini beans, right? It could have black beans. It could have tofu. There's so many healthy foods that are out there that it can help and support. Whole grain, brown rice, sweet potatoes, spinach, etc. Pick that up and put that on the fork. So the apple is being consumed, the healthier food, versus some of the junk or a lot of the junk that's out there. And it's ubiquitous. You go to the hardware store to buy that hammer, and what do you have on the counter? You've got right there on the counter, you got Snickers bars and all kinds of junk as well. So you pretty much can't get away from it from your sight. So this is about chronic disease, right? Constantly over the course of months and years, hitting that artery with a hammer, i.e. the food. There's over $3 trillion that we spend in the United States on healthcare every single year. 85% of this is from chronic disease. Unfortunately, today, 50% of Americans have at least one chronic disease. Again, when we think about food and injuries with food to our bodies, this manifests as chronic disease heart disease, chronic disease hypertension, which is high blood pressure, chronic disease obesity, chronic disease diabetes, chronic disease some cancer, and chronic disease, a lot of autoimmune disease like lupus and psoriasis and multiple sclerosis, which we'll get to in just a minute. The prevalence of the chronic disease has gone from the 1930s to 7.5% to 60% in 2020. That's what's happened with chronic disease. The scientific literature tells us, though, that we can prevent 80% of chronic illness that we see today with lifestyle. So this has been fairly depressing so far in this call. But I wanted to say, let's get to some healing. And what you see on the right is beautiful feet that are not hit with the hammer on a constant basis. Also a computerized generated image. All right, so allowing your body to heal. So this is my opinion. I'll share that first and foremost. I think most people on this call would agree with a lot of this. But these are the top 7 ways, in my opinion, that you can maximize healing in your body. We know if we're grabbing that potato chip, or we're grabbing that donut, or we're grabbing that really fatty steak, we know we're probably hurting our bodies versus helping it. But if we can heal, how do we do that? Number 1 is start with a whole food, plant-based eating, right? So whole grains, fruits, vegetables, etc. This is the number 1 impact that you can have on your overall physical health, in my opinion. Number 2 is whole food, plant-based eating, but emphasizing low fats. So very little tofu, nuts, seeds, avocado, olives, really minimizing or eliminating those as much as possible as well, because what those do typically is they make the blood thicker, which doesn't make it as viscous, which makes it that much more difficult, as we talked about blood flow earlier, to get to the areas it needs to get to. Number 3 is to stop or minimize eating the processed foods and animal products, primarily because of the extra added oils, preservatives, pesticides, saturated fats, cholesterol, all that stuff that comes with that. That's pretty much a no-brainer. Number 4 is intermittent fasting. Example would be skipping breakfast 2 to 3 days a week to give your gut and your body a break instead of barraging it with food all the time. I don't necessarily recommend somebody go intermittent fasting, but this is a way that you can allow your body to heal, and it's been proven that way. Number 5 is reducing stress, right? With stress reduction techniques. And that's going to be the topic of next month's call, is what are ways, why is it important, and what are ways that we can minimize our stress level, which may be an 8, to bring it to a 6, right? Which can help us significantly. Number 6 is getting enough sleep. So incredibly important to what we can do to get our sleep. And the last one is to move more. You can put things like reducing alcohol, tobacco, social connections. All those things are incredibly important as well. All right, so let's get to some real life examples of healing. Where have people allowed? Oh, the first one is about multiple sclerosis, right? So this is a book I just recently read. It is phenomenal. It was actually written a few decades ago. But this doctor, we know that MS, unfortunately, is not, we can't really cure it. There's lots of problems. But this doctor, Roy Swank, did some pretty amazing things with his patients that had multiple sclerosis, which I was blown away when I heard about it on several podcasts. And then I bought the book and read about it, right? So I just read this book a couple of weeks ago. Roy Swank, basically his treatment was a very low fat diet. Right? Some animal products, but mostly not animal products, because animal products have fat in them. It's the Multiple Sclerosis Diet book, and these are just verbatim some quotes in the book. Page 64, a large number of patients, particularly those who began the Swank low-fat diet therapy, remained the same or improved during the entire 36-year study. So these people were not sentenced to a wheelchair 10 years later, which happens a lot with multiple sclerosis, and then death 20 to 30 years later. Many of them were still alive and doing well 36 years later. Page 67, the frequency of exasperations dropped sharply the first year on the diet and therefore gradually. These patients had 95% reduction in the frequency of their exacerbations. Again, all about the food. And then page 68, after 30 years with the disease of multiple sclerosis, the mortality rate of untreated patients was 63%, unfortunately, and 18% for the ones on a low-fat diet. Here's another one with multiple sclerosis. Many of you may be familiar with Dr. Stancic and her amazing recovery from multiple sclerosis. If you don't know about her study, if you Google it, there's phenomenal things on there. In the next couple slides, I'll tell you a little bit about her as well, and a documentary that she's put together. In 1995, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis during her medical residency, experiencing severe symptoms and side effects from numerous medications, including life-threatening reactions to a steroid injection. Dr. Stancic discovered the potential benefits of blueberries, something that you eat, for multiple sclerosis patients when she read a medical journal, sparking her interest in the impact of diet on chronic illness. This was the first time that she said, I wonder if this has something to do with it. This led her to do some research and adopt a whole food plant-based diet. After discontinuing, remember, she got diagnosed in 1995. After discontinuing all her medications and focusing on her diet, by this time she's on a cane. Sometimes she needs a wheelchair. She observed significant improvement in her health, eventually overcoming dependence on her cane and achieving her goal of running a marathon 15 years later. She has put together an amazing documentary called Code Blue, which came out, I think, in 2019. When I looked it up yesterday, it says it's available on Prime for $2.99 and on YouTube for $3.99. I actually watched it yesterday. It was free on Prime. I don't know why it was free, but I said, okay, I'll take it. Phenomenal. It's about an hour and a half long, but the power of what she did and her journey is phenomenal, and I highly recommend that. So that was multiple sclerosis. What about heart disease? Some real life examples of your healing body and heart disease. So these are two titans in the whole food plant-based world. Dr. Dean Ornish in the middle and Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn on the left-hand side. They both have done phenomenal things for the movement of whole food plant-based and what they've shown on heart disease specifically. Dr. Ornish has an Ornish program where it costs about $20,000 that Medicare now pays for because he has shown that you can actually reverse heart disease. Unfortunately, to qualify for his program, many of you know you have to either have had a heart attack or open heart surgery. But the Ornish program emphasizes a plant-based focus on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and soy products, low in fat, limits saturated fat and trans fats primarily from animal and processed foods, limits refined carbohydrates, so avoids the sugars and the snacks and the cakes, emphasizes the whole foods, and moderate protein, encourages plant sources. This is just an image where they show, Dr. Esselstyn showed on the left-hand side, there's two images on the left of the left, the narrowing of the artery and how the body healed over the course of 60 months on a plant-based diet. And on the right-hand side, similar situation where you can see that artery in the distal LAD is so thin and the blood is perfusion is not getting to the heart like it nearly needs to. And then T-minus 2.5 years later, after a whole food plant-based diet, that artery totally opened up and he no longer had coronary heart disease. So that was heart disease. Let's talk about lupus. So many of you know Dr. Brooke Goldner, and she has a phenomenal story herself. At 16, she was diagnosed with lupus, specifically stage 4 nephritis, and was given a life expectancy of about 6 months without chemotherapy. She did this for 2 years on chemotherapy, and the doctors advised her of even becoming pregnant because of severe complications. Defying her medical advice, despite being told that medical school and pregnancy were off limits due to her lupus, Brooke pursued a dream of becoming a doctor. She experienced significant health challenges along the way, including development of anti-phospholipid antibodies leading to severe clotting issues. Dietary changes and unexpected recovery after adopting a 100% whole food plant-based diet recommended by her then fiance, a well-known celebrity trainer. Brooke experienced a remarkable improvement in her health. Her lupus symptoms diminished and her subsequent lab tests showed no signs of lupus, a healing body as a result of astonishing that led to discontinuing of her medication. She ended up getting pregnant despite the risk. Brooke decided to have a child. Her pregnancy was closely monitored due to her medical conditions, but proceeded without complications, leading to the birth of her healthy son, Solomon. She attributed her recovery to health during pregnancy to diet and lifestyle changes. Her book is phenomenal. It's a real thin book, but it's got an amazing story. So that was lupus. Real life examples of your body healing, obesity. Many of us know this woman, phenomenal Esther Loveridge. So at 73 years old, she embarked on a plant-based diet journey that led her to lose 155 pounds, challenging the common belief that significant weight loss is not possible for older adults or those who have gone through menopause. She authored a book titled From Donuts to Potatoes, sharing her transformative journey. She did this by focusing on a whole food plant-based diet. Despite her age, Esther continues to maintain her weight loss and benefits by adhering to a simple diet consisting of fruits, vegetables, and whole grains and legumes, proving that it's never too late to make significant lifestyle changes. Phenomenal before and after pictures. It's just incredible. And then I got a quick one here on diabetes. This is Mark Ramirez, once a University of Michigan football player. They just won the national championship. face diabetes, obesity, and erectile dysfunction, largely due to his diet rich in animal products and oil. Believing his health issues were genetic and inevitable, his condition worsened until he adopted a whole food plant-based diet. This drastic lifestyle change led to the reversal of his diabetes, i.e. healing. High blood pressure turned around, high cholesterol turned around, erectile dysfunction turned around, along with significant weight loss. See the pictures on the left. Romero's transformation underscores the profound impact of diet on health, challenging the reliance on medication and highlighting the benefits of plant-based nutrition for overall well-being. So that was diabetes. Here's one on psoriasis. And we talked earlier about last month about the rice diet. So this is where you fuel your body with just white rice, fruits, vegetables, and juice, and a little bit of sugar. I don't necessarily recommend the rice diet, but it shows the dramatic improvements that you can have by changing what you put into your body to allow it to heal. The picture on the left is some pretty severe case of psoriasis, both on the elbow as well as the waist. And on the right, T-minus 8 weeks later, you have a majority of that is healed. So that's psoriasis. And then I said earlier, we're going to talk about peripheral neuropathy. And this is something that many diabetes patients suffer from. Unfortunately, it is extremely painful. Peripheral neuropathy is a condition resulting from the damage of peripheral nerves, which can cause weakness, numbness, and pain, typically in the hands and feet. It also affects other areas of body functions, including digestive, urination, and circulation. Symptoms vary widely from temporary numbness, tingling, and prickly sensations to more severe symptoms like burning pain. Treatment focuses on managing the causing of what's causing the neuropathy and relieving symptoms. So here's a case with healing the body of neuropathy. This person, this study, they basically had 21 patients, and they went on a vegan diet or total vegetarian vegan diet, and they completely relieved the symptoms of the peripheral neuropathy in pain that occurred in 17 of the 21 patients in either 4 to 16 days, right? Just allowing the body to heal. So with permission for some of my clients, I just want to share a few of the wins. So this is John. He's a hospice nurse, or he's a retired hospice nurse now, but he was able to get off his blood pressure medication. He had hypertension, and he lost 30 pounds and increased his energy level. The only thing he did differently was start a whole food plant-based eating pattern, right? He didn't move anymore. He didn't sleep anymore. He didn't have any different social connections, all those different pillars. The only thing he did differently was what he did to fuel his body. This is Miles. Many of you know Miles. Basically, he lost 96 pounds over the course of 14 months. His energy improved significantly. His joints feel better, and he's no longer borderline hypertensive. He did a few things differently here. He did whole food plant-based eating. He did intermittent fasting. And of course, he did movement. And he's always been moving, but he moved more in this 14 months. One of the challenges that Miles had as he would go through his weight loss journey, where we cycle and roller coaster, he was always having a hard time hitting the plateau about 260 pounds. And as I was coaching him into the 3rd or 4th month, I said, let's just see what happens. So he really had a mental block about the 260 pound. And within 3 or 4 weeks of him getting close to it, he blew past it, and we're in the 250s. He ended up getting to the 200 level as well. So obesity, joint pain, and hypertension. And the last one is a more recent client, a physician named Sarah. Only thing she did differently, she's weight loss, her cholesterol went down, and increased energy, was just fueling her body with whole plant foods, right? That's where she got some serious healing going on. So this is the part where I want to just get some feedback from you guys. So one of the challenges when we talk about the fuel we feed our body is what's called the delayed feedback loop. And the delayed feedback loop, this is by Darren Hardy, and he wrote The Compound Effect, which is an amazing book. He discusses on personal development and success strategies, often talks about the concept of the delayed feedback loop to explain why people continue engaging in unhealthy behavior, such as eating poorly, even though they know these actions can lead to negative health outcomes like heart disease or obesity. The idea behind the delayed feedback loop is one that the consequences of our actions, whether good or bad, don't always show up immediately. When Hardy talks about the delayed feedback loop in context of eating unhealthy foods, he's highlighting a key reason why people might not make the healthier food choices. For example, when someone eats a hamburger, they don't feel a heart attack right after they finish their meal. Like if they would put their hand on a hot stove, right away they get those consequences. but here, not so much. Because of the negative consequences like heart attack or development of heart disease doesn't happen immediately, but rather accumulates over time due to repeated unhealthy choices, or I'd say repeated injury, it's easier for individuals to disconnect their current actions, eating the hamburger, from potential future health consequences. Okay, this delayed feedback on our health allows bad habits to form and continue as the immediate gratification of convenience of unhealthy foods overshadows the long-term health risks. Since negative feedback, example, health issues, is not immediate, it doesn't create a strong enough signal for many of us to change our behavior right away. Darren Hardy suggests that understanding and acknowledging this delayed feedback loop is crucial for making better long-term decisions, especially concerning our health and well-being. So that's pretty much, how we act as human beings, which is totally normal. And that's one of the obstacles that we have to overcome. So what I wanted to do is provide you guys with some potential strategies to help to bridge the gap between the immediate actions and the long-term consequences. And I have 9 of them. The first one is to set clear, achievable goals. Define specific, realistic goals for your diet, like eating a certain amount of fruits and vegetables each day or limiting fast food once a month. Clear goals can help you stay focused on making healthier choices. I'll have these summed in the last slide here. Educate yourself is number 2. Learn about nutrition and how different foods affect your body. Understanding the benefits of healthy foods and the risks associated with unhealthy ones can make it easier to make informed choices. Number 3 is immediate rewards for healthy choices. Create immediate positive feedback for healthy decisions. For example, reward yourself with a non-food treat like a movie night or a small purchase when you meet your health and wellness goals for the week. Visual reminders. This is one we talk about sometimes in coaching calls. Use visual clues to remind yourself of long-term health goals. This could be a picture on your fridge or a health-related goal written on a sticky note or setting reminders on your phone about your dietary goals. Track your progress. This is another big one. In the Practice Better app, there's a really wonderful tool called journaling where you can document and track your progress. Keep a food diary or use a mobile app to track what you eat. Seeing the progress you're making can be a powerful motivator and build awareness to continue to eat healthily. Number 6 is plan your meals. Planning your meals in advance can help you prevent last-minute decisions to eat unhealthy foods. Prepare healthy meals ahead of time so you always have good options available. One of my clients who's not on this call shared with me, Mike, you've got to make sure all your clients know they have to have the healthy foods readily available when they're hungry. We can't say, I'm starving now, what am I going to do? We got to be prepared. Planning your meals. Number 7, mindful eating. Practice being more mindful of what and when you eat. Pay attention to your hunger cues and try to eat slowly, enjoying each bite. This can help you to make more conscious food choices and recognize when you're full to avoid overeating. Social support. One of the reasons we have this call. Share your goals with friends or family members who can offer support and accountability. Joining a group or community with similar health or dietary goals can also provide motivation and encouragement. And the last one I have is small incremental changes. Rather than attempting to complete a diet overhaul overnight, focus on making small changes gradually. This can help you adjust more easily to a healthier eating pattern without feeling overwhelmed. And the caveat on here is it just depends on your personality. Some people are all in and they do well and make mistakes and just continually get better. And some people just need to take it slow. It just depends on the person. So my question for you guys, of these 9, I'd like to hear maybe just from a couple of you, what resonates with you? Do you feel like, yeah, that's something that we've either discussed or on tonight, something you're thinking about that could really help you and support you in the capacity of grabbing the apple versus the donut, right? Not injuring yourself and fueling your body with whole plant foods. What comes to mind?
I think the visual reminders, I think if I would do like a vision board, that would be helpful,
Okay.
possibly. I just today, thought about the tracking what I eat, because if I write it down, then I'm aware of it, where often I can eat a box of Good and Plenty and then feel like, oh, I haven't eaten anything today. Oh, I'm doing
Right.
pretty good. But yeah. So those are a couple things that I haven't been doing that maybe adding would be also good.
Sure.
So
Yeah. So a nice vision board is a visual reminder for you. Helps you look at your goals, where you want to go, and then really tracking your progress and being intentional about just being mindful of what you're feeling in your body in some form or fashion. How you document that to build mindfulness. That's excellent. Thank you so much.
welcome.
Hey, Coach Mike.
Yeah,
I think what really resonates with me is the social support.
gotcha.
So I got into, Christina, are you listening? I got into the whole food plant-based because Christina was my roommate in college and we did it together at Butler. And so I thought that was really fun and helpful. And we made it like, very engaging between each other and kind of got some of our other friends involved with some creative recipes. And
Yeah,
so I thought that was really important. And it is more difficult because now I do live alone in Boston. And so always, trying to, if it's not social support with the whole food plant base, um, which I don't keep too much anymore, but it's potentially social support in other aspects, like
yeah,
doing group fitness classes or
yeah,
going on walks with my friends, or making sure that I have that, community network
yeah.
here.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing it. It matters a great deal with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you feel like you're by yourself and you're the only one doing it, it can be very demotivating, but you can just get one other person just to help you and support you with accountability, being on the same page, support, ideas. That can make a huge difference to making those better, healthier choices. Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else?
For me, there's several of them, but one huge one that has been for me is educate yourself. And I mean, every day, constantly
Okay.
read, reading, learning more stuff, looking at the different transformations for motivation constantly,
Yeah.
knowing that it's definitely real, that one. And then the small incremental changes is huge too. Just adding on little habits every day, adding on a little bit more, you know, that's been huge. Tracking the progress with habit trackers, that's huge for me.
Right.
It's almost obsessive but it has to be for me, I think,
Gotcha.
because it's too easy for me to fall away. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's really, really important for me to keep doing that, and it's worth it, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Great
then of
point.
course the social connections, especially with you, Mike, that has been a lifeline continuing for me that would not, I don't think I could have ever gotten to where I am without your support and help
Yeah.
and
Great.
knowledge and
Great.
everything. So, and then the visual reminders too. I mean, I have a lot of photos of the transformations of people, not just myself. I do have
Mhm.
some of myself, but I've got them of other people too, in a lot of places,
Yeah.
on my phone, on a poster. I mean, just different places where I constantly am being bombarded with it.
Excellent. Yeah, I love all of what you said. One thing that really stands out to me is the constant reminders, right? So I'm a health coach. I'm coaching people this stuff all the time. I'm very highly motivated, but even yesterday, I saw Cold Blue when it came out in 2019, and I'm watching it yesterday going, this is so great. That movie, even though I've already seen it, it's just so powerful. And this fall in November, I'm going to be going to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine National Conference. And I'm going to be around a lot of other health coaches and physicians and PAs, all just rubbing elbows with people that do this and do this well. So it's so really, for me, it's just so exciting and just really passionate about it. So you would think that because I'm around it all the time, that something like Code Blue or somebody's inspiring stories like, but it just gets me even that much more fired up. Keeping it in the front of our mind, right? Either with those visual reminders or what we're doing to fuel our minds. So very good stuff. Thank you so much. All right. Anybody else?
I like the one with number one, set achievable goals and rewards for healthy choices,
Yeah.
and tracking my progress, and planning my meals.
Wonderful.
That main thing right there is a lot of the one that I trip over the most is planning my meals,
Okay.
because I don't tend to batch cook sometimes, and that gets me into trouble. And then
Yeah.
husband will suggest we eat somewhere, and that's not always the most healthy decision. I don't
Right.
like to eat out very much at all, because even if it's healthy food, sometimes they still put fat and oil on it.
Right.
So planning my meals and tracking my progress on
Yeah.
practice better, like you've got,
Yeah.
and the social support as well. That's for sure, because Bev and I have decided we're pretty well matched up as far as buddies. So
Mhm.
that was another great thing you did. So
Yeah.
there you
Yeah, it
go.
matters a great deal. Tell me about the clear, achievable goals, Susan. Tell me about that because you said that one right off the bat.
Yeah, because sometimes I wasn't sure about how much fat to cut out, and it's pretty much all of it, you know.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that was what I struggled with for all this time, and now I am starting to lose weight again, and it's
Oh,
because
great.
I cut the fat,
Good for you.
cut the the flaxseed and the soy milk, and
Yeah.
just everything with fat in it,
Yeah.
and that's going to help me, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. That's wonderful. Good for you. Okay. Anybody else before we close out?
I just wanted to say, I feel like this is kind of already said, but just emphasizing that educating yourself, because specifically with being whole food plant-based, I feel like just watching a good documentary or reading a good book will just get you right back,
Yeah.
kind of revamped on your original goals that you may have set, weeks or months and like prior. So I feel
Yeah.
like just continue to educate yourself, especially as new information comes out, which is happening all the time, is very important.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Absolutely. All right. Anybody else? All right. Okay. So in summary, put down the hammer or don't pick it up as much, right? This is definitely not about perfection. You guys know that. Use your fork for better health instead. All change makes an impact towards your better health, right? So just know that even a little bit of progress is progress altogether, right? It's not necessarily going and making change 100%. It doesn't even matter necessarily where you are. It just matters the direction that you're headed. So allow your body to heal. And with that, I thank you guys. We're going to get out a little early today. I'm not sure how to turn off the recording, but I'll give it my best shot. So let's see here. Let me do this here and hang on. There we go. And